Just outside of St. Andrews is the Kingsbarns Distillery, a great place to enjoy a wee dram. I was met by Michael van der Veen, the Visitor Experience Manager, a Dutchman who's been living in Scotland for 20 years. So, Michael, let's start with this. Say you've just come off the golf course and you're coming to Kingsbarns for a unique experience. What is it like when you first arrive?
You'll be welcomed, of course, by the team. We'll run you through the history of the building, the history of how we started making whiskey, and show you the production area, and then take you up for a sampling. We've got something called the 19th hole, which is a tour based on golfers, of course. Less information, more sampling, just to make sure that if you've just played 18 holes of golf, you might not want to hear the full history story. So a little bit more tasting, a little bit less info.
The building itself, why is it so unique?
It's a 200-year-old farmhouse that was falling in disrepair, repurposed to be a distillery. So very much authentic, but done up really nice to give the visitor the best experience possible.
But it kind of looks like an old castle.
Yes, that was the fashion in those days. If you build a farm, you might as well make it look as good as you can. So to match the house next door, the main mansion, they would have built the farm to be a piece of work, to be good looking.
The distillery started when?
In 2014. It was a brain child of a local golf caddy who constantly thought, where can these American golfers that come and visit this lovely area go and try some whiskey? He would then send them to Edinburgh or to Pitlochry, quite far away. So turning this building into a distillery seemed to be the logical thing for him.
And the building, was it still in use at any point recently?
No, last used in the 90s as a petting zoo for families, and it was actually this caddy that visited here as a child. So he was well familiar with the building.
And what about the original mansion? Is that still around?
That's still up and running. It's a wedding venue. People go and get married there. But we also have the golf course, Kingsbarns Golf Course, on the same estate. So it's all part of the same estate, although there are different companies running it.
All right. So you mentioned that you could do kind of a quick tour. In broad brush terms, how could you take us through the process that you go through here?
The whiskey process, the production process is fairly simple. 3 ingredients, water, barley and yeast. That's all everybody uses. And it's then how you use those products to create your different style of whiskey. We have very long stills. Copper made, of course, to make sure that the liquid gets purified, and we fill casks. We fill about 37 whiskey barrels a week, all ex-bourbon casks from Kentucky, to create our lowland style whiskey.
All right, so how many whiskey distilleries are there in Scotland?
About 167 working single malt distilleries at the moment.
And if it only takes 3 things to make whiskey, how are they all so different?
Most of that is in the production process. So the shape of your still is going to determine the flavor of the whiskey. The temperatures you use to fill your washback and your mash tun is all going to affect the end result. How long you ferment, what kind of yeast you use, it all adds to different flavors.
How about the barrel itself? What makes yours unique?
We get all our barrels from a known source. That's a very steady supplier. We know exactly, we know what tree the barrel comes from. And all that information is very important, because you can make the best spirit in the world. If you then put it in a poor cask, you end up with an inferior product. So we use really good casks that we know have been correctly used before we put our whiskey in it. And
how typically have those barrels been used previously?
They would have had bourbon in them for 2 years in America, taking away the new oak flavors, if you like. Because bourbon has a bigger, fuller flavor, you're not going to notice that oak flavor in the bourbon. While had you had whiskey in a new cask, you would instantly pick up those flavors. So,
and how would you describe the flavor of Kingsbarns whiskey?
It's a typical lowland style whiskey, so it's light, floral, very approachable, very easy drinking. You get vanilla, maybe some pepper. We talk about pastries, vanilla cream pastries. That's kind of the flavor that you get from it.
And how has it been received as yet?
Oh, fantastic! I've been here since the whiskey got launched, and it's been great to hear all the positive feedback from visitors, and won several awards, including Best Lowlander, which is pretty amazing for a brand new whiskey.
Yeah, that is amazing for a brand new whiskey. And the people that are coming here, you alluded to the fact that they're probably golfers coming off the course. Is that in fact who's joining?
Absolutely. We get golfers, on the one day that they don't play golf, they'll come and drink whiskey, or after their golf, they'll come and enjoy some drams.
And how much has that become like a regular part of your business? Is it one tour after another?
Yes, oh yes. We do tours from 10 o'clock in the morning until 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's one after another. Often golf groups, 8 balls, sometimes bigger groups.
And can you ship it to the United States as well?
We can. There's a handful of states in America where we can send our bottles to, but we're in the process at the moment of shipping our big stock to an importer in America, so it should be available from probably February next year in the better bottle shops.
All right, so people that have St. Andrews as a bucket list destination for their golf and their golfing group, what message do you have for them right now?
Come and play the amazing courses here, and while you're at it, enjoy some of the local whiskey.
Fantastic. Should we sample some?
Absolutely, I think we should.
All right.
So, Maddie, we've got some whiskey here. Over here, some new make spirit. So that's the color of whiskey before it sees any wood, unaged, 63.5% alcohol. So we'll give that one a miss just now. But after 3 years, we end up with this color, beautiful golden shade. And that's what we're going to taste now. A single cask, only 253 bottles made of this. So this is the rare stuff. This is what we don't taste every day. So I'm always keen to try it myself as well again. To your good health, Slanjeva. So this is quite high alcoholic because this is at cask strength. So it went in the cask at 63.5%, and now we're talking just over 61% alcohol. So still quite potent, and that's why we add a little bit of water. Water will just open up the spirit a little bit, and it also dilutes the alcohol, so it makes it more approachable. If you now give it a good swirl and have a little taste of it, then you'll see a big difference from what we had earlier.
Oh yeah.
So you still get a lot of heat from the alcohol because it is cask strength, but you get vanilla and there's pepper, a really good dram. Leave this in a cask for a few more years, and you've got something really special.
It was pretty good to start.
Good.
Perfect. And what else do we have here?
So we have our bourbon cask. We have an ex-Portuguese red wine cask, and that's, after 3 years, that obtains a lot of color and a lot of flavor, which is great. It helps us to make our Dream to Dram, our flagship whiskey. But if you leave it in a cask for 10 years, it's going to be too much flavor. So it's meant to be used at a young age. We then have our Dream to Dram, so that's the main whiskey. But we also have our new sherry cask, matured in an sherry cask from Jerez in Spain, and that has lovely fruity noses. A much rounder flavor than the drier bourbon style.
Want to try this one?
By all means.
Why not?
We'll have to get some more glasses. So, named after an old castle that's just down the road here in Creil, an old ruin, not much left of it, but it's named Balcomi, and that's what we named our whiskey after.
Is there anything in sampling a whiskey and tasting a whiskey and consuming a whiskey, Michael, that one should be looking for or one should do?
Yeah, you're first of all assessing the whiskey visually. So the color of it, a young whiskey you expect to be quite light and pale. Because this is a sherry cask and a year older, there's a little bit more of gold to it. And then you're looking for the legs. You see how the alcohol clings to the glass. Those are the legs, and the more alcohol you've got, the longer those legs will be. And then, of course, we give it a smell, and I think on this one you get dried fruit quite instantly. It's a lot more full-bodied than the first one we tried. And then this one's at 46%, so a little bit less alcohol, which may suit you or may not. I like my high alcohol.
That tastes good.
Yeah, it's
very good.
There's more fruit, and because the lower alcohol, it's just easier drinkable. But again, I always add a little bit of water to my dram. If you're in the States and you're somewhere warm and you want to have a couple of cubes of ice in it, then by all means. But the best way to get all the flavor is just adding water.
That's really, really good.
So there's some theories about whether you should have whiskey before golf or after golf.
I bet that varies by individual.
I think it depends on your handicap, yeah.
Michael, thank you for this.
You're very welcome.
Amazing.
Cheers.
Great golf and great whiskey just seem to go hand in hand.